Horsemanship. And
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We're welcome. We're excited. And Sarah's here with Equi-Analytics. Can you tell us a little bit about what your company is and what they do and their history?
Yes.
And stuff?
Yep. So Equi-Analytics, we are a set of laboratory services in the larger company of Dairy One. So Dairy One's been a forage lab since 1974. We are one of the leading forage labs in the US and internationally. So in 2011, we started packaging our services geared towards equine customers, looking at which parameters are most important for making nutrition decisions and making packages that made a little more sense. Our Dairy One packages have a lot of equations that are important for ruminant animals, and that doesn't work for horses. So we wanted to make something that was tailored for the industry.
Awesome. What made you guys decide to start getting into it in 2011? Was it just, horse owners changing their parameters and really wanting to look at equine nutrition, metabolic syndromes, those types of things?
Yes, that was a big part, seeing that people were very interested in getting a better idea of diagnosing metabolic symptoms and understanding what goes into it. So a lot of measuring of sugars and starches and carbohydrates. And we also had been receiving a lot of equine samples. So we just saw that market growing and wanted to make something more tailored for them.
Have you found that from the time that you got into it in 2011 to now, so we're talking 9 years, have you found a change in the sugar levels and the starch levels of the hay that's now being submitted to you guys? Is the desire to test the hay, is that helping hay producers turn out a healthier hay?
I can't say if we've seen any sort of trend on sugar levels. I think people are definitely just making better decisions in what type of hay they get. A big question we always get is, can I tell my sugar level by appearance? And we know that's not true. Your hay could look like anything when it arrives here in the lab, and we'll get you the best analysis as we can. It depends on how you sampled the hay, which we can go into. So I think hay is still kind of being produced along the same lines. We do see in the dairy industry that some is being produced on such a large scale that you're getting a high ash contamination. But I think equine hay is generally a little bit on the more refined side. I'd say that they're trying to remove the ash, they're trying to grow and harvest in a way that's limiting your molds and mycotoxins too.
Along those lines, when you were talking about molds and those type of things, I know one of the questions we had too as well from somebody was, does rinsing your hay really help with that? I mean, do you guys take samples of rinsed hay or soaked hay, or how does that work?
Yes, so on the molds and mycotoxins, I'm not sure if rinsing or soaking is going to have an effect, but I do know on the sugar levels, we do see a difference on soaked versus non-soaked. We recommend that if you soak your hay before feeding, then you should soak it before sending it in to us. And generally, those guidelines are soak your hay as long as you normally would, and then let it air dry overnight before sending it to us. It does affect the sugar level. There was a study at the University of Minnesota that looked at that. And we're going to have that link on our website soon. It's not there right now, but definitely goes into the sugar level in the soaked hay.
Before this interview, Sarah was telling us that they're going to be redoing their website soon. So we're going to look for some new information on there soon as well. So we were curious about that too, because at our barn, we soak a lot of hay for horses. We do have some horses that do have metabolic syndrome or pre-metabolic syndrome. And that when you soak it, you also take out other nutrients as well, unfortunately, don't you, besides sugar?
I think there might be an effect on others. What I'm most familiar with is just the sugar level changes.
Okay, yeah. So can you tell me how people take a sample and what they do?
Oh, yeah. So we can analyze pretty much anything that you'd like to send in for your horse. The main obviously being your hay and pasture. That's the biggest part of the diet. So you really need to know what's going on in there, especially your mineral levels. We get a lot of questions asking, okay, why do I need to test my hay? feeding this mineral supplement. And kind of like, well, do you need to be feeding your mineral supplement if you don't have the mineral level of your hay? So to take a sample, we have guidelines on our website. Those will stay on the website with the update. They look actually like this handy dandy poster behind me. So we recommend using a hay probe to get a sample of hay. A grab sample isn't the most representative because you'll just be getting a snapshot of that one bale you grabbed from. If you don't have a hay probe, you can get one easily from like an extension agent or your veterinarian. I know some farriers are even starting to carry them now, which a hay probe looks like this. I've had one. So you would just take a core sample from 12 to 20 bales, whatever is representative of your load. And then you would send the sample in to us. We generally like about a quart-sized bag full, so this would be the bag. This sample has already been analyzed, so there's some sample missing from it. But it would look about like this when you're doing an analysis or doing a hay probe. So we're looking for that short chop. It doesn't really matter much for the analysis side, but that's how we tell if it was taken with a hay probe. If you're taking a pasture sample, we recommend going through your pasture and taking 12 to 20 grabs and trimming at grazing height. So you don't want to be getting all that dirt up, but what's representative of what your horse is actually consuming. Pasture samples, we do recommend freezing before sending in because the sugars can break down and cause some aspiration in the bag, and it'll affect your analysis. And then once you send it in, we do recommend expediting shipping to make sure it gets here while it's still a good sample. I'm trying to make sure I'm answering questions as I go. Once the sample arrives at the lab, if it's a dry hay sample, we'll generally analyze as is. All of our samples are ground down to 1 millimeter grinds. So that will pretty much equalize any sort of physical changes in the sample. And if it's a wet sample, it goes in our ovens to dry at 60 degrees Celsius for several hours. And most of our analysis is done through NIR, which is near infrared reflectance. So it's a non-destructive way of looking at a sample where we can take a scan of the sample and get back, I think, around 34 parameters, looking at all sorts of things. NIR is best at organic molecules, so it does have trouble measuring mineral levels. If you're really concerned about mineral, we do recommend doing our wet chemistry packages. Those are all destructive methods and they require a lot more labor, so it's reflected in our prices that wet chemistry packages tend to cost more.
And do people use the same way to sample hay and send it to you for those as well, or do they have to give you more hay to do more samples, or how does that work?
If you send in that quart bag full, that will be enough. Most of our wet chemistry methods don't take a whole lot of sample. It's just important to have enough that we can mix it and get a representative sample. We will give you a reliable analysis. The largest thing that's going to affect your analysis is how you sample it. So we don't have control over the biggest change. So it's really important to get a representative sample. The NIR and wet chemistry are both equally reliable. NIR, we have hundreds of thousands of samples that have gone into our database, especially for your hays. If you're looking at something that's a little bit more pure, you might want to go to wet chemistry instead, because NIR calibration might not be able to catch it. But for the most part on hays, it's well covered.
Do you guys test for allergens as well, or?
Allergens in terms of like molds and mycotoxins?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have some packages for that. Currently, our mycotoxins aren't analyzed in-house. We send them to another lab to analyze, but you can send your sample here and then we'll forward it on and it'll all be on the same analysis sheet. We're looking to bring that in-house eventually.
Yeah, I just asked because, I'm hearing more and more, articles and reading more articles and hearing more complaints from people about horses having allergens and or allergies and not really knowing where they come from. So, like you said, hay is one of their largest sources and they're sticking their face right in it. So.
Yeah, I don't have any nutrition backup for this, but I definitely say if it's like a dusty hay and you don't really want your face in it, probably your horse doesn't want that either. I always use that with my dairy customers things too. I'm like, if your feed doesn't smell good to you, it really doesn't smell good to your cows.
Yeah.
It's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, how long, if somebody sends in a sample to you guys, how long does it usually take to get back? And, you know, what, I mean, I know you went through kind of an analysis, you know, should they get, you know, vitamin analysis, you know, mold analysis, also all those types of things. And then who should they talk to once they receive the analysis?
Oh, yeah. So it depends on the analysis that you pick for how long it takes. NIR, you can expect results same day or next day once we received your sample. So probably the largest delay on that is going to be your shipping method. We always say pick your shipper at your own risk. USPS is probably the least reliable. They lose samples every once in a while and we can't do anything about that. We get really good service from UPS and FedEx. But you could always do like a tracking number on your USPS to try and figure it out there. So yes, NIR will take about a day to get your analysis back. The longest part of that is going to be our drying and grinding step. The analysis itself takes about a minute. For wet chemistry, that's generally about 2 to 3 days. If you're looking at molds and mycotoxins, that will go 5 to 10 days depending on the other lab. Once you receive your analysis back, we have some guidelines on our website just saying, you know, here's the NRC tables and you can look at your breed and your horse's workflow that tells you some nutrition parameters. Or we recommend talking to your nutritionist or vet about your results. There's also some nutrition softwares out there that we've worked with. FeedXL is a really great one out of Australia, where you can import your analysis with a click off the email results. And then you can make your diet on the program. It'll take in your horse's age, metabolic needs, all sorts of things. And it's a really good software.
Can you repeat that name of that software again, just to make sure our listeners can hear that?
Yes, that was FeedXL. It will be on our website with the redesign.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Any other questions?
I think, you know, I think all my questions are answered. How about you, Cindy?
So I wanted to, in your talking about the time frame of getting your results, I think I heard you say that the mineral content is a different package that you order. And does that have that same quick turnaround, or does that take a little bit longer?
So minerals, if it's attached to an NIR package, we do try to get those out quickly with the NIR package so you can get the results quickly. The minerals department generally has results out next day or in 2 days. That's a pretty fast turnaround. We have had some slowdowns this past fall. We're working with some old equipment here, running since 1974. We do have some things hard for their age. I don't think we have any equipment that's from 74, but everything definitely goes through its paces. So our minerals department has been having a few hiccups lately, but that's all been fixed and should be turned around. And we generally communicate to people if their results are going to be delayed because of some equipment issues.
How long have you guys been doing hay analysis for the dairy product? I mean, how long have you been in business, I guess is my question.
Since 1974. Back then, yeah. So since back then it was all wet chemistry methods. We started doing NIR in 85 or 86, I believe.
Well, we know that, you know, hay analysis and nutrition is really important for the dairy cows because without good nutrition, they don't make milk. So they gotta
exactly, and that's the tough thing with horses. I mean, we're so used to on the dairy side for our company, you're measuring production, you're measuring an output. With horses, you're measuring life, you're measuring what it takes for them to just be every day, which I think is why people sometimes don't think of testing their hay and pasture, but I mean, it is very important. It does change throughout the year, and it's a good thing to keep an eye on.
I think so many people that have horses don't really spend a lot of focus on the nutritional aspect of the horse until they actually have a problem. And so one of our goals here on our channel is to help educate people in all areas of being a horse owner and really helping to show them the importance of the nutritional component. You know, there's so many things I believe that can be prevented and managed and even cured just by having that really good focus on their diet.
Got to start from the inside out.
Yes, just like us. So I did have one other question, and it's going to elude me, but not for long. What is your average type of hay that you get in? I mean, do you get a lot of grasses, alfalfas, oats, or are you kind of just across the table?
For US samples, we're definitely looking at a lot of grasses or grasses with a mix of alfalfa in. We're not seeing a whole lot of pure alfalfa anymore on either side for dairy or equine. Internationally, we do start to get some more exotic samples. We see some elephant grasses. Bermuda grass is growing in popularity in the US, and Sudan grass. There are some oat hays out there to get into. Pretty much if it's a forage, people have tried to make it a hay and then they want to analyze it. So there's some weird things gotten in, like we had a rice hull little spell for a while where we were getting a lot of rice hulls. And we have a whole division for zoos and aquariums. We get very interesting samples from that side.
Cool. Cool. Before this interview, I believe you had mentioned too that you guys work with some ration balancers and that type of stuff. Is that correct? Or that you recommend some of those or some other?
Yeah, that'd be FeedXL is the one that I'm most familiar with. I've used their software a few times. And I think we have some other links on our website that should be changing with the update. The biggest thing is looking at the NRC tables. And I think they have an interface on the NRC website now that you can just enter in your information and it'll calculate for you.
Okay.
We do have a table there currently that you have to look for all the parameters to start, and it's not the most current way to do it anymore, so that's why we're updating it.
And I had noticed when I was perusing through your website too that you guys had a really nice description of the label of the back of your feed bag to describe to people what the nutritional label says and all that. Yep. As well. So yep. It's great to a lot of people. So
yeah,
your website, there's resources there for people to understand.
Yes.
So if I were to do my analysis and I get it and I'm really confused, I just don't understand what it's saying, which I know sometimes that can happen. It can be a little overwhelming if you're looking at a sheet that's got foreign things on it.
Yep.
Can your customers call and actually talk to somebody at your company that will help kind of walk them through that? Or is that other resources that they reach out to?
No, yeah, you can definitely call us. We're always happy to help people with their analysis. We have some information on our website, keep saying our website, but we have one that defines all the terms because we use some abbreviations that people aren't familiar with. We have a great customer support team, especially dedicated for Equi-Analytical. We have one team member that's very enthusiastic for horses, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are used to dealing with her. It's Megan. She's back in our group. She actually helps me a lot with this interview to come up with things to talk about too. So yeah, she's always available to talk through how we figure out your analysis, what to look for on the sheet, the calculations, what they mean. And we also recommend always talking to your veterinarian or nutritionist to see how your results relate to your exact horse. We can't offer recommendations, so that's the best we can do for saying, in your particular case, you have to talk to your nutritionist, but we can always help you interpret your results.
Perfect. And we keep referring to the website, so can you tell us what that website is?
Yes, it is Equi-Analytical.com. So it's Equi-Analytical.com. You never think you're bad at spelling until you have to do it.
Good job there.
You're on the line. That was very good. So I think we've asked all our questions. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to cover?
Oh, if you're submitting a sample, I know we get that question a lot. I talked about how to take the sample, but to actually submit it on our website, we have our submittal form that has our packages on there, so you can take a look at which one fits your needs. Our 601 Equitech is our most common, which has the NIR macro minerals and then minerals on the NIR or on the wet chemistry side. You can also order a shipping kit from our website. When you click on the order from our website button, it will direct you to our main Dairy One page. So don't get scared because it stops saying Equi-Analytics. It says Dairy One now. And then we'll send you a kit that has a mailer bag with our address on it and prepaid postage. And, or no, that one doesn't have prepaid postage, I think. I could be wrong. It's on the thing. And it has a bag in there to fill with your sample plus the submittal form, so you can fill out your information, the sample's identification, and then match that to the same.
Perfect. So that sounds pretty user friendly. Just get on the website, figure out the package you want, fill out your form, order your package, you get your whole kit in the mail.
Yep.
And you have to have your probe.
Yep.
That's going to be the biggest challenge for some people, is getting that probe.
Yes, we do sell them on our website. I believe they're $129 or $139 right now. But if you don't want to have one, I definitely recommend talking to your nutritionist, extension agent, or yeah, we've been getting a lot of farriers ordering them too. So it could be something that you could tell your farrier you'd like them to offer it. It's not too big of an expense when you think about what it could save you in terms of knowing your hay, and you have to make sure your diet's actually correct for your horse.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know in our area, you know, we're vitamin E and selenium deficient, and those can cause big problems if you don't supplement for that. So that's people need to know what they're feeding. And if they feed too much, if they're not selenium deficient and they feed too much, then we've got other problems too. Right?
So we do offer selenium testing that is forwarded onto a different lab, but you can select it with your analysis. We don't currently have any vitamin testing, but we're working on getting that.
So you're mainly testing for the minerals. Minerals, sugars, and starches.
Yeah, so your macronutrients being like your fibers, your carbohydrates, so your sugars, your starches. We have fats in too. It's all the parameters you would need for your macro diet, and then the minerals are part of it too. The macro minerals can be offered in the NIR packages. We do not do any micro minerals by NIR. You have to select wet chemistry for that.
Okay, cool. And for our non-tech savvy people, is there a good phone number for them to call yet to get ordered, everything ordered?
Sure, I have one.
I don't know the lab. It's 877-819-4110.
All right, perfect. And then, you know, another way for those who want to know about all of this on what they're feeding their horses, but they don't really have the time or the desire to go out and buy the probe and all of those things, then just being more inquisitive about who you're getting your hay from and whether or not they're analyzing it is another good option. Yes.
Oh yes, and you can always ask your hay seller to do analysis, and we do recommend verifying your hay analysis if you get one from a different seller. We've run into a few cases in the past, especially in the equine industry, of people doctoring results to upsell their hay. This isn't very common, but you never want to find someone that is selling you something that it analyzes differently. So if you do get a sheet that says it's analyzed by Equi-Analytical or Dairy One, we can't release someone else's results, but if you call in with that same number, we can verify some of the numbers for you to confirm that it is an accurate test.
Okay. Otherwise, again, it goes back to, you know, yes, be mindful of who you're getting your hay from and make sure it's a reliable source. But if you really want to know, or you need to know because your horse has medical needs or is predisposed to some of these things, then test it yourself.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. Well, we had a lot of people on our site wanting to know about all of this. So this is really exciting that you were able to take your time and answer some of these questions. And we look forward to seeing your website new and improved.
Yeah, maybe shoot us a private message or email or something when it's up, and we'll share it on our group. So when
that'd be great. And we just had a contest on our Facebook where people can submit horse photos that are going to be featured on our new website and in some of our new marketing. So if you do have a great horse photo and you want it to be on our website and you have the photographer's permission for us to use it, find us on Facebook and we'd be happy to use it.
And what's your Facebook name?
Equi-Analytical.
Perfect.
That's all. Yep.
Perfect. Yay. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking your time. This has really been informative. I learned a lot today.
I did. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in to Synergistic Horsemanship.
Yes. Yes.